Bring in Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, senior fellow at Defense Priorities. You heard our reporter, Ben, say that the Ukrainians have fought the Russians to a stalemate outside the capital. Now, don't sugarcoat this. Hit me with the truth. Is there a chance that this stalemate could continue and they do not lay siege to the capital?
That's what we hope. But I'll tell you, as a former armor officer myself who has fought in heavy armored combat, I am shocked at the small and the low level of just basic understanding of how tactics are done, that the Russian tanks, after so much opportunity to just see how the U.S. has fought with tanks, would have such horrible tactics that allow them to be blown up like that. So that does call into question just how effective they can be. Now, I do put a caveat on it, though, that in the South, there does still seem to be a lot of success for the Russian armed forces. Well, not a lot, some success. They continue to make methodical progress. And if they are able to close off some of the passages down there and cut off the Ukrainian armed forces, then it's possible they could move up later. But we're talking a couple of weeks. But there doesn't seem to be much risk right now that the Russians can make an effective march of the forces they have on the west and the north.
So, yeah, the South is another story, but let's focus here again on the capital, because that's the grand prize. If you can't have tanks push into the capital because they keep getting hit with javelins and they can't communicate and they can't supply them, how are they going to get the Russian forces inside and surround the capital? They on foot?
Well, again, the one aspect is the tactical incompetence. This is actually the theater level incompetence that they shouldn't have even attempted this. They maybe should have had a holding effort. The Russians should have had a holding effort in those areas where they were until they were able to set the conditions and move the rest of their forces up so that they could hit it all together from 3 or 4 different directions. But they are not doing that, and they're just losing their power by these small scale incursions that are getting knocked out. So it does call into question really across the board what they can do. But there is a danger to that, too, because as you kind of alluded to just a second ago, if Putin starts to feel pressured and panicked that it's not working and he's going to risk losing, he may increase the firepower. He may use more indiscriminate bombing and more air power. And so the damage could really increase. And that's the real risk and what I'm going to be looking for.
You're looking at the performance so far after the first 2 weeks. If you're a NATO state and you're Romania, you're Poland, and you're right on the border, you're probably not as scared as you were before the invasion. Are you not as scared of the Russian army after what you've seen?
Absolutely. I couldn't more strongly agree with that. In fact, one of the perverse, I guess, benefits to Western security, at any rate, after this, is the exposure that Russia's conventional forces are nowhere near as strong as what we thought. And you clearly are seeing, like with Germany, spending another $100 billion on their conventional forces, and defense spending is rising among all the nations around because they don't want to ever be caught short like this. But it's clear that if Russia can't even handle one relatively minor force in part of one country, they have zero chance of having a 30-member NATO bloc. But the real risk that we have to be careful of, we can't get too excited about that, because if Putin feels pressured, then you have the risk, if it expands beyond the borders, into nuclear exchange. And that is the one thing we have to make sure we keep this contained in there so that it doesn't go out. Because if we can just keep it contained, Putin will weaken himself for a decade or more after this thing is over.
So that's the proxy war strategy that we've talked about. And I guess that seems to be working, but at the cost of just countless lives and billions of dollars to the Ukrainian people and the economy, the world economy. So the NATO is flexing our muscles. We have some war exercises taking place in Estonia. I think they put even out some footage of it. And there's going to be large-scale NATO war games taking place next week, tens of thousands of soldiers in Norway. Is that enough, Lieutenant Colonel? Or would you like to see more action maybe on the Black Sea, maybe in the air, something a little bit more to show the Russians that we're not going to tolerate bombing maternity wards and this is just unacceptable?
Oh, Oh, believe me, that message is already going through, and these exercises reinforce that, because the one thing that was before all this incursion took place is there was lots of disputes and disagreements among NATO. That's all gone. Putin brought us together like nobody else could, and right now you see military, you see political, and you see economic coordination like we haven't seen in a decade or more in NATO. And this shows that all of our forces are in complete, total power. And Russia is being treated away by the day because of their incompetence. So there is no question in anyone's mind, least of all Putin's, that he cannot even touch us conventionally.
Before we let you go, if Putin uses chemical or biological weapons, how does the West respond to that?
Man, that is my biggest fear. Don't lie, because there will be so much pressure on the world and on Biden to do something and to maybe escalate into it. But we just have to hold firm, because as bad as this is right now, it is contained. If we go in and do something like that and we use military force and Russia then expands it beyond, then you're not going to see that stuff just in Kiev and in Kharkov. Maybe you're going to see it in Warsaw or in Germany and some of these other countries, and God forbid a nuclear strike anywhere in NATO. And we just can't risk that, no matter how much our heartstrings pull us.
I understand.
We have to be firm.
I understand. All right. Thank you very much, Lieutenant Colonel. Excellent analysis.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.